Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Monica.
Hello.
Jean and Alexander and Patra. Giovanna, hello.
Hello, Dan.
How are you? Nice to see you. Hello, Kristen, Constantine, Michelle, Rachel, Phil, Reggie, and Mr. or Mrs. 321-501. I won't say the rest of that phone number because we don't want you to get prank calls. Hello, Floor. Welcome. All right. My name is Dan Roshan, and there's going to be some people joining us today. I'm going to be your facilitator this week. And who I am is I'm a real estate agent, just like you. I've been a real estate agent since 2007. I'll tell you more about that as we get started. I'm going to invite for each one of you to go ahead and to put your videos on, because what I know is I've hosted this challenge. This is my 6th time hosting this challenge, yet it's the first time I'm hosting it in this variety. I've been working really hard over the last 3 weeks to put together really fresh new content that works in today's environment. What I know from the 6 or from the 5 other challenges that I've done is that those that have their videos on and those that participate and those that have high energy are the ones that actually produce results. And certainly you want to produce results this week. Got to get a yes on that? Yes, I want to produce results. So go ahead. Yes, amen. Amen, brother. Hallelujah. Floor, thank you for placing your video on. So let's go ahead and let's get some big energy. If you're on Facebook Live, I'm going to ask for you to go ahead and post in there right now of who you are, what areas that you serve, and where you can receive referrals from. If you're on Zoom, and if you have your video on, I'm going to ask for you to do the same thing. So for you to be able to earn the privilege to be able to receive referrals from others in this group, then, I'm going to ask that you have your video on because it's best for you. So thank you. All right. Thank you, Reggie, for turning your video on. Hello, Matt.
Give me 2 minutes. I'll be on.
Oh, come on, Giovanna. We'll get you on there. Hello, Floor. Hello, Patra. Welcome. Hello, Sharon. Well, thank you for having your video on. Fraser, you are the one. You can go ahead and turn your video off. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Alexander.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, Vero Beach area.
Hey, all right. State. Vero Beach. I love Vero Beach. That is that's one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm going to be in Orlando on Friday, so I'm excited for that. I see someone from Fort Worth. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia. Fraser, you can keep your Lancaster, PA. We've got a lot of participation today. I see Fraser with his mug right there. John Root, servicing Northern Virginia. Welcome. All right. So, again, my name is Dan Roshan. I want to welcome you to the 5-day listing challenge. And as I mentioned to you, I am a real estate agent, just like you are. I've been selling homes since 2007. Got my license November 2007. First 6 months of my career, guess how many closings I had? Go ahead. Put it in the chat. How many closings do you think I had in my first 6 months? 4. Sarah says 4. Higher or lower? Constantine is the winner. Floor is not the winner. Constantine, put yourself off mute. Tell us what you just said.
20.
0. Zippy,
0.
zilch. That's right. I had
0.
Yet, my next 12 months after that, I had some success. Because what happened was I was struggling and I knew that I wanted to have success. I just didn't know how. And so I remember I went to my broker Karen's office. I remember knocking on her door, walking into her office, and she says, Dan, come on in. How can I help you? She was a little bit annoyed because she had all these documents she was going through. This was well before Dot Loop and DocuSign. And so on that day, Karen welcomed me into her lair, into her office, and together we designed a plan that I implemented that allowed for me to have success. And in fact, since that day, probably about maybe 60 days since that day, there hasn't been a month that I've not had a closing since 2008, early 2008, with an average of 10 sales each month. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'm going to share with you today and over the next 4 days after today, I'm going to share with you how I've done that. But it doesn't matter how I've done that, because more importantly than that, I'm going to share with you how you could do that. Okay, because one of the things that I've realized in my career as a real estate agent, once upon a time as a real estate broker, what I've learned is that there is not one way to do this business. What I've learned is that there is your way to do this business. And so what we want to do is we want to discover what is your way. And what I'm going to provide for you this week is I'm going to provide for you an option of 3 different ways that you can do this, because most likely one of those 3 ways is going to resonate with you. Now, you should have received an email before our presentation today. Who here received that email? I mean, I'm assuming you did because you're all here. Raise your hand if you received the email. Okay. There was a video that was in that email. It was a 12-minute video. So rather, a little bit of a longer video. Who here had a chance to watch that video? All right. Looks like about half of you did. All right. Hello, Ephraim. I just saw you driving there. All right. So if you watch that video, I went through 3 options of how to find business. Who recalls one of those 3 options? Yell it out or shout it out in the chat if you could. If you're online, if you're on Facebook Live, go right in one of those 3 options. Hello, serving the East Coast of Florida from Melbourne, Faro, Alexander. Who remembers open house? John Root is correct. John Root is correct. Open house is one of those strategies. Fizbo, Mindy is correct. Mindy from San Diego. If you got San Diego referrals, Mindy is your lady. Who has the 3rd one of what we went through on that video? I heard open house. I heard Fizbo. And the 3rd one was the Facebook lead generator strategy. And we're going to go through those 3 during this week. So go ahead and do me a favor. If you've not placed your videos on, go ahead and place your videos on right now. And go ahead, if you're on Facebook Live, say hello so that we can get this out to the masses so that as many people as possible can be able to enjoy this, this curriculum. What I'm going to go over these 5 days is during the 45 minutes, you're going to receive a high-level strategy. The high-level strategy is going to allow for you to have a mindset of where we're going to be going. After this strategy session, I'm going to deliver you access to an online portal, and this is all free. There's nothing, this is all included with your tuition of free. And so what I'm going to share with you is the access to the online portal, which will go through the tactics. And the tactics are going to be one of those 3 tactics that we just mentioned. It's going to give you either the open house tactic, the Facebook lead generator tactic, or it's going to give you the for sale by owner tactic. And I break it down so that there's about 10 to 15 minutes of homework each day, and that you're going to build upon this every single day. So that today, the tactics, it's going to be real easy. It's going to be real simple. You're going to have some things to do today. You'll get that email about the end of this conversation. And then after you do you choose what you're going to do of those 3 tactics, and we'll do that during the strategy session today. Then you'll take just one of those tactics, not all 3, and you'll do the homework for that tactic. Does that make sense, everybody? All right, sounds good. All right, fantastic. What I don't want you doing this week is I don't want you doing all 3. You can come back next week and do number 2, and the week after that and do number 3. And what I know is that if you intend to do all 3 this week, it's going to be a struggle. And what I want for you is I want for you to be able to find that pathway for you to take listings. This past Saturday night, I don't normally go on listing appointments on Saturday night. It was 4:30. and I accepted the listing appointment. It was in Sterling, Virginia. If anybody knows where that is, I know a lot of you are from my area, Sterling, Virginia. And that was my 96th listing appointment that I've attended this year. Of those 96 listings, I've listed 76 of them. I'm very grateful for that. I'm not saying that in a boastful manner. I'm saying that because in my psyche, in my mind, I still sometimes reflect to myself as a waiter. Because in 2007, that's who I was. My adult life, I was that waiter. And it wasn't until that day that we're scooping butters in the ramekins, and Bill shouts across me because he knew that I was looking for something. He knew I was looking for a business. He knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I didn't know how. And Billy says to me, he says, "Hey, Roshan, you ever think about being a real estate agent?" And I was like, what? No. And then I started thinking about it. And just as you know, guess what? I found out it was going to be a 60-hour coursework, about $2,000 invested, and I got my license. And that seemed like an opportunity for me. Of course, I didn't know the next 6 months what that struggle was going to be like. And for many, and some of us, that struggle continues. But what if I could tell you is that if a waiter, even though it was a high-end steakhouse, like I enjoyed doing that, but I enjoy doing this more. If a waiter can do this, any of us can do this. You can do this. What you just have to do is you have to understand what is your way. Unlike a lot of those coaches, they'll get on and they'll say, "Hey, here's how to get business." Has anybody ever heard a coach say, "Here's how to get business. Use video in your marketing"? Has anybody ever heard that? Has anybody ever heard, "Here's how you get business. Go door knock. Go call your friends and beg them for their business. Call expireds. Call FSBOs," even though that's going to be one of the tactics today. But the way I'm going to teach FSBOs is in a manner that, guess what? You're not going to have to cold call. Imagine that. That's going to be fun. Okay, so you're going to learn how to do FSBOs with no cold calling. Well, what you've probably heard is those other coaches share with you one of those strategies and say, "This is the way to get business. Cold call, beg, however it is, post videos, whatever it is. This is the way to get business." That's what you've heard. But guess what? Those gurus, with respect, are wrong. There is not one way to get business. There is your way to get business. And that's what we're going to discover this week. All right, so here's what I'm going to ask for you is I'm going to ask for you to commit to show up each day of the course. I'm going to ask for you to do the homework of the course, which is going to be about 15 minutes. That's going to be emailed to you. And I'm going to show you today how to access that. And I'm going to ask you to trust me over the next 5 days. That's what I'm going to ask from you. So show up every day, have your videos on, be ready to learn, have an open mind, have an open heart, be ready to implement the tactics. Trust me for 5 days. And in return, what I will give to you is a guide of a step-by-step approach that will allow for you to be able to understand how to take listings. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, so what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I have heard that agents struggle with this business. Who here has ever struggled with, how do I take listings? Say yes, put your hand up. I met an agent, Brian, and I'm not sure if he's on here now. He may be on here. And Brian, I met him, and he was an agent for 17 years. Some of you in the CPI community know Brian. And Brian, in 17 years as a full-time agent, guess how many listings he took? The same as I did in 6 months. That's right, Mr. O'Leary, 0. Brian took 0 listings in 17 years because he acted as a buyer's agent in on a buyer's team in Phoenix, Arizona. And so Brian and I, about a year ago, we devised the plan. And within about 90 days after devising that plan, Brian had taken his first, not one, not two, his first 3 listings. And so before Brian and I, met each other, one of the things that he shared with me on our first conversation was, I can't do this. I mean, that's what he shared with me. And so again, if it's just, he had figured out the way how to do this in 17 years. It wasn't that he couldn't do this. It was that he did not figure out how to do this. Does anybody resonate with it? I don't want you to put your hands up right now, but I want you to listen to this question. Is there something within you? Don't answer it out loud. Is there something within you that causes you to believe that you can't do it? Because if there's something within you that causes you to believe that, I'm going to encourage you to ask yourself a different question. And instead of asking yourself, like, how do I do this? Am I capable to do this? Am I worthy to do this? Instead, I'm going to encourage for you to ask the question of how? How can I do this? And the way to be able to figure that is a simple equation. The equation of that is, if yes, then how? So in other words, if anybody has ever been a waiter and got their real estate license and then had massive success, if anybody's ever done that before me, because that was the question I once upon a time was asking, then I know the answer is yes, it can be done. So now I just need to figure out how. So if you believe that you can't do this, then I want to encourage for you to just ask a different question. Some of you may know that I do a podcast, the Consistent Predictable Income for Real Estate Agent podcast. And on the Consistent Predictable Income for Real Estate Agent podcast, I interviewed somebody who you would know the name if I shared it with you. And I'll say this story because the podcast actually is not live yet, so no one's going to be able to connect the dots here. This is a very famous coach in the industry. And she talks about one strategy and one strategy only, which is you should go out and you should film videos of yourself and you should make yourself prominent on YouTube. Now, does that strategy work? Yes, it absolutely works for the right person. Yet, does that work for you? Well, I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, but I do know if right now, if you don't have your video on right now, you probably shouldn't consider to use that strategy unless if you're driving. Okay, right? That strategy is not one for all of us. Okay, so if you believe that there's only one way that this could be done, remember that is a falsehood. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
I also know that a lot of people feel as though if they need to have closed a ton of deals before they can actually be successful in business. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you 3 tactics that of those 3 tactics, only one of them takes an investment of money. That's the Facebook lead generator. The other 2 tactics take 0 money, and the Facebook lead generator takes a modest amount of investment. I remember the first listing appointment I ever went on. So remember, it took me 6 months to get my listing. So when I say the next part of this, you'll know like what the result of this listing appointment was. I was licensed less than 1 week. I was licensed for 6 days when I went on my first listing appointment. And I'll never forget, I was scared. I got out of my car. It was this old blue Passat, it was a Passat. And the headliner, Frazier, do you remember that car? Do you remember my blue Passat? It was actually Tracy's blue Passat. And I think I got that after my my previous car blew up on me. The headliner was coming off the Passat, like hitting me in the head. So you can imagine I drive up, I go to the listing appointment. It's this brick house. It's right behind this Coast Guard like auxiliary thing in Alexandria. And I'll never forget, I walked up, this was an expired listing. She agreed to meet with me. I knock on the door. The lady answers the door. She's got her toddler sort of banging on her leg there, invites me in. And what I do is I go and I sit down at the couch after walking through the house. Guess what? Don't do that. Do not sit at the couch. Okay, that's a bad idea. You want to sit at the kitchen table. Hello, Jessica. Nice to see you. And so, so I sit at the couch. And we're sitting at the couch, and I'll never forget, she looks up at me, she says, Dan, how long have you been licensed for? And I pivoted. And about another 5 minutes go by, and she says, Dan, how long have you been licensed for? And I pivoted again. Well, on the third time that she asked me that, I'll never forget, I bowed my head, I looked up, my heart sank, I rebounded, and I said, feels like forever. And guess what? I did not get that listing. You know who got that listing? A guy named Brad. I won't tell you his last name because he's still in the business today. If any of you are in Northern Virginia, you may know who I'm talking about, a guy named Brad. In fact, Frazier, he does a lot of business in your neighborhood still today. So I would sit there and cry, Brad, for the next several years. And it wasn't until I beat Brad on a listing appointment about 3 years later where I was like, hey, yeah, screw you, Brad. All right, I'm sorry. That was the inside voice. All right. So anyways, what I want you to understand is, how did I get that listing appointment? Yes, Frazier. How did I get that listing appointment? That's what I wanted to, I had to see if Frazier was sending that message just to me or to the entire group before I answered the question. He guessed who that was. I didn't want to say who that was out loud if he did that to the entire group. So anyways, so how did I get that listing appointment? I called expired listings. Now, is calling expired listings the way that you should do this? I don't know. Probably not, to be candid with you, because very, very few people does that actually work for. So what we want to do is we want to find your way. But what I do want to tell you is, how much money did that cost me?
Nothing.
Zippy. All right. Now, I also didn't get the listing, right? But that's a whole nother story. Brad. So what I want you to understand is, I want you to understand that you can do this, and you don't necessarily need a bunch of money to do so. There's techniques and tactics that will allow for you to actually be successful in finding listings. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit about what we're going to do this week. Let me show you my whiteboard over here. Let me move my microphone. Let's see. There we go. All right. So when I got into this business, I realized that those who have the listings control the marketplace. Those that have more leads are able to create wealth or cash flow at the very least. The more leads that you have, the more business that you have. Would everybody agree with that? So if you would agree with that, then you have to understand and sitting there saying, well, what is the process to be able to walk somebody through the pathway to say, where are we today? And then where are we going to go? And what I want to encourage for you to understand, remember, this is strategy, it's high level stuff today. Tonight, you're going to get the tactics. What I want you to consider right now is that it is a step-by-step process, and you can lay out those steps in a manner that you just take one at a time. What we don't want to do is we don't want to scatter it. We don't want to, I guess, shotgun blast it. We don't want to wing it. We don't want to jump from one to the other. What we want to do is we want to take it from one step to the final step. Okay. And so to be able to do that, you're going to start here. And let's say this is your listing. Can you guys see that? I don't know how to light. Yes. Okay. Thank you. This is the listing. And let's say over here, this is where you want them to go. So this would be the result. And so if this is your seller, and the seller, you meet the seller, and you're going to bring them to a result. And by the way, for the seller, what's the result that the seller wants? Yeah, that's right, Giovanna. That's right, Phil. They want the money. They want to get their property sold. They want the least hassle. They want the most money and the least hassle, and they want it sold. That's right. So understanding that this is what they want, you have to start with what is the result. When you understand what is the result, then you could be able to put in each of the steps of what are the steps from me meeting them to me getting that house sold. And in this case, the reality of that is that there's a whole series of steps before this, before you even meet with that seller. This is when you're at that appointment. Once you're at that appointment, there's certain process of steps to be able to get that sold. And before you're at that appointment, there's a certain process of steps that you have to take to be able to get hired, most likely. I don't know what the ratio of 76 divided by 76 divided by 96 is, but it's probably something like 75%. No, it's got to be more than 75%. It's probably like 80%. So who has that math? Someone do 76 divided by 96, please. Yell that out or put it in the chat real quick. What is it?
It's almost 80%.
80%. Okay. So when you follow the process over here before you meet with the people, thank you, 79%, you can get hired 79% of the time. That's what my ratio is this year. Now, I'll never forget, I was in a class one day and this really top listing agent, Frazier, you won't guess it this time, but Giovanna made you guess it. She knows this guy. And this really, really top listing agent, sort of smug, always dressed with a suit, a little bit overweight, cocky, and eager. All right, that's all I'll give you on that one. He stands up in the class and he says, the instructor says, "How often do you get hired?" He says, 98% of the time. And I'm sitting next to him and I'm like, dude, you are either lying or you're lying. Right? Because the reality of it is if it is 98%, he's not going on enough listing appointments. And I know that this guy is going on enough listing appointments. So you have to understand that the amount of times that you're going to get hired are dependent on who you're actually meeting. Because there's three things that will show you how you're going to get hired. That's either, or how much business that you do. Write down these three things if you could. These three things are going to dictate how much business that you do. That's either how often you're saying something, who you're saying it to, or what you're saying. If you're not obtaining your goals, I promise you the root cause of that's going to be within one of those three criteria. It's going to be one of those three criteria. So either you're not saying it often enough, or that you're not saying it to the right people, or you're not saying the right thing. So if you're getting hired 98% of the time, that probably means that you're not saying it to the right people, or you're not saying it often enough. That means that you're only going on the appointments with your cousin. Okay. So again, that's one, not enough people. Two, not the right thing. Or three, not the right words. I think I just made it worse by writing it up on the board. I was intending to make that simpler for you, right? But there's a chicken scratch up there, right? All right, so these are the three things that are going to cause you to not get the success that you want. So understanding that as an agent, where do you start? You have to start here with what result does that person want? Now for you as an agent, my perspective today, this week is you're now the agent. You're not the seller. Now this is you. You're here. So what result do you want? Well, I'm going to presume the result that you want is more listings, done in an easier fashion, and in a predictable manner. Does that resonate with you? If you get to understand that result, would you call that a win? Okay. So as we go through this, just like that seller, there's going to be a process of a step by step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And that's what we're going to go through this week with you. So the tactics are going to go through step by step by step in a manner that will allow for you by the end of the week to have a plan together that's not just a plan, but that's implemented to cause you results. So what I'm going to ask for you to do this week is I'm going to ask for you to not wait until you get all the information. Because remember, one of my 3 asks was that you trust me. So instead of waiting until you have all the information at the end of the event, instead, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you, when you get the tactics this afternoon, is that you take and invest that 15 minutes to review the content and be prepared to be able to implement the steps today. Is that fair?
Yes.
Hey, all right, fantastic. So I mentioned to you, you're going to have a choice of one of 3 options. So you can either be for sale by owners, Facebook, or open houses. So here's how you decide which tactic that you want. So I want you to pay attention, right? Because this is really vital, really important for this week, because you're only going to do one of the 3. You're not going to do all 3. So if you are eager, if you're ready to take action, and if you want to take listings ASAP, then I want you to take the for sale by owner tactic. Remember the promise of the class, no cold calling. You will not make a single cold call. Remember that, okay? You will not cold call. The for sale by owner tactic that I'm going to teach is not what you think it is. John, is Kat on here? I see John. John implements. He's on my sales team. John, is the for sale by owner tactic that I teach, can anybody do that?
I can do it. Anybody can.
John is doing amazing at it, and so is Kat. Okay. I wouldn't agree with the statement, if he could do it, anybody can, but I would agree with the sentiment of anybody can. So if that is you, you're eager to ready to rock and roll, then, hey, Jad, nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a couple of years. If you're ready to rock and roll, then that is what strategy I'm going to ask for you to do. If you are interested in, if you're very smart, if you're patient, and if you're willing to invest some money, a small amount, into this process this week, then I'm going to ask for you to do the Facebook lead generator. The Facebook lead generator is going to cost you a minimum investment. I would recommend $100. Okay. That would be if you're smart, if you are willing to invest some money, and if you're patient and you're willing to actually make some phone calls, and that's going to be the Facebook lead generator.
100 per month?
Well, it's going to be dependent. So I'll go through the tactics, Giovanna, in the course where I'll go through that with you. But the reality of it, and I actually did a call 3 days ago where I converted a buyer/seller. It was the first call I made. I was like, okay, I want to record this video for the class. I dialed one call and it was the first one. Now I'm going to be candid with you. Normally that's about 100 dials for me to get to that person. And I got completely lucky or fortunate, whatever. I don't like using the word luck. I was grateful to be able to come across that at that point, it was a seller/buyer, and I recorded that video. And if you're taking this strategy, you'll be able to see how to do that. But to answer your question, it depends on the return. Okay. And I go through that on the tactics, because today my investment into my Facebook leads are someday, it's more like $50 a day is what I'm investing, but I scaled up into that. Okay. So you have to scale into that. 18 months from now, you could be $50 a day. Today, it's going to be whatever your budget is, but I go through those tactics. Now, the last tactic to consider is if you're that person that people feel warm and fuzzy and feel good around you. If that is you, if you're that person who's attractive, meaning that you attract other people to you, that people like to be around you, then I'm going to ask for you to do the open house strategy. So those are your three choices right there. And what I want you to ask yourself right now is, which of those choices will you take to implement this week? All right. So now you've got your tactic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you what you're going to receive later today. And what you're going to receive later today is going to be a coaching portal. Can you guys see my screen here? All right. So your mission this week is, if you choose to accept it, is to learn over the next 5 days your way, not my way, your way to find listings. When you log into the portal, there's going to be a video over here. I'm going to ask for you to watch that video. And then below the video, there's going to be some places there that you can rack up some points. I'm going to ask for you to do those, and then you're going to start right here on training day 1. So you're going to scroll down there to training day 1, and when you get into training day 1, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go ahead and you're going to watch the video on that. This video will explain to you what your tactics are going to be, and then you'll have a choice of tactics below that. That's tactic 1 is the for sale by owner. Tactic 2 is the Facebook lead generator. And tactic 3 is the CPI open house. The homework that you're going to have tonight is the easiest homework of the week. You're not going to do all 3 of these. You're going to do one of these. And you'll have a step-by-step walkthrough of what your homework is today. If you have questions about the homework, there will be I'm on a demo site right now, so you can't see it, but at the bottom of the page, there will be a place that you can place a comment. My team and I will see that comment and we'll be able to help you. So just, it's going to be at the bottom of your page, and you'll be able to comment. So the trainings, you can scroll over here for the trainings. That's where you can find the trainings day by day. You're only going to have access to day 1 today. There are bonuses over here of resources that will allow for you to have the tools that I use, and those tools, they're the exact tools that I've put together the list that have been well vetted and are in a place that you're not going to waste your money guessing or wanting for the tools to work. At the very least, we've made those tools work very effectively. So you have access to all the tools that I use to sell more than 100 homes every single year. You have access to be able to get the real estate book that I wrote, Real Estate Evolution. That's this book right here. If you guys can take a look at me real quick. And this is the guide. Giovanna, yours is in the mail. We'll get yours to you. I thank you for ordering that. You have access to listen to the CPI podcast that on a daily basis, we post interviews of the rock stars who I interview. You'll have access to video instruction from gurus. And if you'd like to talk to me to schedule a discovery call that you can learn your way to do business, it's on that portal as well. So that's what your tactic's going to be, is to go ahead is you're going to get an email. You probably just got the email like right this second. Poof, you got the email. I wonder if anybody actually did get the email. You should have actually right this second. You should have just gotten an email, and in that email is going to give you access to the portal, and go into that portal, choose what your tactic is, and then go ahead and do the homework. And again, today is just a setup. Today it's easy. Not to say it's going to be hard at any given day. It's just that the entire process is going to be step by step by step. All right, we got 5 minutes left here today. What questions do you have? What ahas do you have about what we talked about today? I know it's really high level, and the tactics are going to be done on a daily basis. Yet I'm happy to be able to answer any questions that you have right now. Vaughn does not have the email yet. We will make sure that you get the email. You also have to make sure that you're registered for this as well. Didn't get the email, didn't get the email, didn't get the email. I got you. All right, we'll make sure that you guys get the emails. But they'll be coming to you shortly this afternoon.
Dan, is the email one which is entitled or log on details important or what?
No.
What's the email? Please?
It is, give me a second. It is. Leslie, do you know?
Checklist.
Okay. I'm being told that they're sending it right now. Yeah. Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm using my brokerage's Zoom account. That's probably why it's not the same email that I've registered with. I think that's
Okay.
probably why.
Here's the deal. I promise you'll get it today.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. And if you register on Facebook, send me a private message. I'll make sure that you get it as well. Is that good?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All
Hi,
right.
this is Ellie.
Hello,
Can you
Ellie.
hear me? Hi.
Yes, I
My
can.
question is the Facebook ad, the funnels and platforms, is that I assume that that's your platform? The funnels are already there. How does that work?
No, I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling any sort of platforms like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to show you how you can use it. I'm going to show you how to set up a Facebook page. I'm going to show you how to post the ads. I'm going to show you how to do it on your own.
Just using Facebook instead of having other platform for different funnels.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. You have everything. If you're on Facebook right now, you already have everything that you need, Ellie, to be able to be successful.
Yeah, I
with it.
just want to make sure because I
Yep.
wasn't quite sure what eventually you'll be selling us.
Eventually, I'm going to be selling you the key and access to the rest of your life.
I know
Dan, I
it's
got a quick
coming.
question.
It's okay. It's a great prospect formula, but I just would like to.
Yeah,
have
no,
an
I'm
idea.
not selling anything. No, that's nothing. You don't have to invest in anything that I'm doing this week at all. Okay. Like, and there's not going to be like, oh, hey, here's a strategy. Now pay me 100, but that's a good idea. I like the way you roll.
I'm not complaining. Gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Kingsley, what were you sharing?
Yes, I was just gonna ask a question. So if we're doing $100 strategy for the Facebook ads,
Yeah.
Realistically speaking, how much leads are we gonna get, and what is the average conversion rate from lead to actual client? Like, how does that work?
And I do go deep into this in the tactic. The conversion rate is 1 out of 100 within the next 45 days. 3 to
Okay.
5 out of 100 over the next 18 months.
On $100 to get you 100 leads, or how does that work?
$100 could get you probably about 50 leads, but I do use a portal to be able to reduce my cost on that. So, so I get them at about $2 a lead. I think you might have to pay a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But about $2 a lead. So you'd be at $200 for one closing, basically.
Okay. Another follow-up question, if that's okay. What is the what is the conversion process in place? Is it you're saying it's not cold calling. I guess they're warm leads once they show interest, right? So they're not cold leads anymore.
Yeah, here's the deal. If
okay.
if that resonates with you, do it. If it doesn't, then do one of the other ones. But yeah, they're warm leads.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's the one that strikes me the most. So yeah, definitely looking to get the email and get that started.
All right, ladies and
Second
gentlemen.
question, Dan, just real quick, the CRM, do you have that, or we can use our own? You're gonna, how
Use
does
your own.
that set up? All
You're
right,
gonna use your own CRM.
perfect, thank you.
Yep, you're
Got
welcome.
the email, Dan. Thank you.
Got the email. Yay!
never got
Alexander
it.
got the
Never got the
email.
email.
All right. The email
Bye, guys.
exists. All right, ladies and gentlemen, be on time tomorrow. Be ready to learn. Have your videos on. Do the homework today. And I promise you at the end of this week, you're going to have a strategy in place, tactics in place, and you're going to be rocking and rolling. So Be proud of yourself. I am proud of you, and we're going to have fun this week. I will see each of you tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.